The achievement paradox. Why success isn't sexy. You have spent the last few years grinding, convinced that there was a finish line where attraction would finally become automatic. You did exactly what the experts told you to do. You hit the gym until your physique became undeniable. You stayed up late and woke up early to scale your business to six figures, ensuring your bank account was a fortress. You traded in the old sedan for a luxury car and swapped the hoodies for tailored clothes. On paper, you are a masterpiece of modern masculinity. You are the high value man the world promises women are dying to meet. But when you actually step out into the dating world, the reality is a cold splash of water. The interactions feel hollow. You go on dates, and while the women are polite and the conversation is pleasant, there is no fire. There is no urgency in their eyes. They aren't leaning in. They aren't texting you first. They aren't wondering when they'll see you again. You find yourself trapped in a cycle of heavy lifting where you are the one planning every detail, leading every conversation, and chasing every follow up. You are performing for them, showcasing your achievements like a peacock, yet they remain emotionally distant and perpetually bored. You've built a spectacular stage, but no one is buying tickets to the show. Then you see the guy who makes your blood boil because he defies every rule of the success handbook. He hasn't seen the inside of a gym in months. He lives in a tiny, cluttered studio apartment and drives a car that barely passes inspection. He doesn't have a prestigious title or a six-figure salary to lean on. By all traditional logic, he should be invisible. Yet women are absolutely obsessed with him. They aren't just interested, they are aggressive. They are the ones blowing up his phone. They are the ones competing for his time, and they will move mountains just to stay in his orbit. He doesn't have to prove a thing while you are exhausted from trying to demonstrate your worth every single day. This contrast feels like a personal insult, but it's actually the loudest wake up call you'll ever receive. It's the proof that everything you've been taught about female attraction is not just slightly off, it is fundamentally backwards. You've been led to believe that attraction is a transaction where you trade status points for desire. You thought that if you provided enough security and success, a woman's heart would follow suit. But the truth is much harsher. The very things you think are making you more attractive are often the same things killing her desire. When your value is tied entirely to your external achievements, you radiate a subtle energy of, please like me because of what I have. That need for approval is a repellent. You've spent so much time building the inventory of your life that you've completely neglected the energy of who you are. And until you flip that script, no amount of money or muscle will ever make her chase you. Perception versus inventory. Why your resume is killing your game. Society has spent your entire life feeding you a very specific, very polished lie. They've convinced you that female attraction works exactly like a grocery list or a corporate hiring process. They told you that if you just collect enough points, if you stack enough cash, build enough muscle, and climb high enough up the social ladder, then love and desire would be the automatic reward at the end of the tunnel. You were taught that attraction is a transaction. You provide the inventory of a successful life, and she provides the affection in return. But here is the cold, hard truth that most men spend their entire lives ignoring. Women don't fall for your resume. They don't fall for the car you drive, the watch on your wrist, or the title on your business card. They fall for your internal state. They are reacting to the man inside the suit, not the suit itself. Think of it this way. Attraction isn't about what you have, it's about the energy you project. From the very first second you walk into a room or open your mouth, a woman's subconscious is running a lightning fast diagnostic on you. She isn't checking your credit score, she is reading your energy signature. Instantly, she places you into one of two categories: above me or below me. This isn't about arrogance or being a jerk, it's about value. Does this man know his own worth, or is he waiting for me to tell him he's good enough? If she senses that you are trying to sell yourself to her by bragging about your wins, showing off your wealth, or being overly eager to please, you have failed the test. The moment you try to impress her, you are signaling that you don't believe your inherent self is enough to keep her interested. You have effectively put yourself on sale, and by doing so, you've told her that you are below her. This is why the success paradox exists. You can be a multimillionaire with a physique carved out of granite, but if you approach a woman with an energy that screams, "Please notice how successful I am," you will lose every single time. You are essentially begging for her approval using your bank account as a shield. Meanwhile, the guy who is technically broke but is genuinely, unapologetically comfortable in his own skin will dominate. Why? Because he isn't trying to prove anything. He doesn't need her to validate his existence. His value is internal, unshakable, and not tied to his belongings. When he speaks, he isn't looking for a gold star or a yes. He is just being. And that level of self contained power is the most magnetic thing on the planet. High sexual market value has almost nothing to do with your bank balance and everything to do with your perceived abundance. When you rely on your inventory to do the talking, you are showing scarcity. You're worried that without the toys and the titles, you'd be invisible. But the man who understands that attraction is about perception knows that his internal state is the only thing that matters. He knows that true power is the ability to be powerful even when you have nothing. If you want a woman to be addicted to you, you have to stop showing her your resume and start showing her a man who is so grounded in his own worth that her opinion of him doesn't even move the needle. That is the shift from being a provider of things to being a possessor of energy. And it is the only way to move from the below me category into the above me category for good. The validation death spiral, why your need for approval is repellent. The most lethal mistake a man can make in the dating world is entering the validation death spiral. This is a quiet, invisible trap that swallows your attractiveness whole, and most men don't even realize they've fallen into it until it's too late. It starts the moment your sense of self worth becomes dependent on her reaction. If you find yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes to see if she replied, or if you feel a surge of anxiety when she doesn't laugh at your joke, you are spiraling. You are essentially handing her the remote control to your emotions and saying, "Here, you decide if I'm a high value man today." The second a woman realizes she has this power over you, the mystery evaporates, the challenge vanishes, and her attraction dies. You might have $1 million in the bank and a physique like a pro athlete, but if you are constantly looking to her for a gold star or a nod of approval, you are nothing more than a successful beggar. You are rich in assets, but bankrupt in soul, pleading for a handout of self esteem that only you should be providing for yourself. Women have an almost supernatural ability to detect neediness. They sense it like a shark senses a drop of blood in the ocean from miles away. It shows up in the way you over explain yourself, the way you try too hard to be funny, or the way you agree with everything she says just to stay in her good graces. This nice guy behavior isn't actually nice. It's manipulative because you're trading your backbone for a crumb of her attention. When you operate from this place of lack, you are communicating that you don't believe you are enough as you are. You're effectively telling her, "I'm not sure if I'm worth your time, so I'm going to keep performing until you tell me I am." This creates a massive burden for her. She doesn't want to be the source of your confidence. She wants to share in the confidence you already have. If she has to constantly prop you up with compliments and reassurance, she will eventually grow tired of the wait and walk away toward a man who can stand on his own 2 feet. The men who actually trigger deep, consuming obsession in women are the ones who are completely self validated. These men don't wait for a woman to walk into the room to decide how they feel about themselves. They know their worth before they even put on their shoes in the morning. This internal certainty makes them outcome independent. They aren't at the dinner table thinking, I hope she likes me. They are thinking, I'm going to have a great time tonight, and I'll see if she's interesting enough to join me on my journey. This shift in perspective is the ultimate power move. When you stop making her approval or the prospect of intimacy your primary goal, you suddenly become the prize. You are no longer a hunter chasing prey. You are the destination. Because you don't need her to feel good, you become a challenge that she feels compelled to win. Taking back your power means becoming immune to the carrot on a stick of female attention. Most men are easily manipulated because they are starving for a compliment or a sign of interest, and they will compromise their values just to get it. But when you are self validated, you cannot be bought. You become an immovable object. If she's cold, you don't panic. You stay grounded. If she's distant, you don't chase. You go back to your own mission. This lack of reactivity is incredibly rare and intensely attractive. It signals that your reality is stronger than hers. And ironically, that is exactly what makes a woman want to enter your world and stay there. You have to be willing to walk away from any interaction that doesn't meet your standards. Because a man who is truly comfortable being alone is the only man a woman will ever truly fight to keep. Presence and polarity, the magnetic power of the grounded man. The tragic reality of modern dating is that most men are ghosts in their own bodies. When they sit across from a woman, they aren't actually there. Their bodies are in the chair, but their minds are miles away, trapped in a frantic loop of mental gymnastics. They are either dwelling on the past, worrying about previous rejections and mistakes, or they are obsessively calculating the future, trying to figure out which game tactic to use next to secure a specific result. They are running scripts, rehearsing lines, and monitoring her every facial expression like a scientist looking for a data point. This lack of presence is an invisible wall that prevents any real connection from forming. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel when a man is performing rather than being. When you aren't present, you feel hollow, and no amount of clever lines can mask the fact that you are disconnected from the current moment. True presence is not just paying attention, it is a literal magnetic field. It is the rare and powerful ability to be completely still within yourself, even when the world is moving fast. When you are fully engaged, you aren't thinking about what to say next. You are listening with your entire being. You aren't afraid of the gaps in conversation because you are comfortable with silence. Most men panic during a lull in talk and try to fill the air with nervous chatter or forced jokes, which screams insecurity. But a man who can sit in silence, look a woman in the eyes, and remain perfectly calm creates an emotional experience that is almost impossible to find in today's overstimulated world. This stillness communicates that you are at peace with yourself and that you don't need to entertain her to keep her interested. It creates a vacuum that naturally draws her toward you, making her want to bridge the gap and win your attention. This presence is the foundation of polarity, the primal spark that makes attraction feel like an electric shock. Polarity is the tension between two opposite forces, the masculine and the feminine. Think of it like a battery. You need a positive and a negative charge for the current to flow. In this dynamic, masculine energy is the mountain. It is grounded, directed, stable, and unwavering. Feminine energy is the river. It is flow, emotion, intuition, and movement. The problem today is that many men have become liquid. They are reactive, overly emotional, and constantly seeking external cues to decide how they should feel. They have traded their masculine rock status for a feminine reactive state. When two liquid energies meet, there is no tension, no spark, and ultimately no attraction. It feels like a friendship because the charge is missing. When you step back into your masculine energy by being a rock in the storm, everything changes. A woman's world is often a whirlwind of emotions and external pressures. If she meets a man who is just as reactive as she is, she can never truly relax. But when she encounters a man who is genuinely grounded, a man who doesn't get rattled by her moods, doesn't get defensive during a disagreement, and doesn't lose his center when things go wrong, she finally feels safe. This sense of safety is the on switch for her feminine energy. It allows her to stop managing the interaction and finally relax into her own flow. This creates a deep, primal attraction that goes beyond words. She becomes addicted to how she feels in your presence because you provide the stable container that allows her to be her most authentic self. By remaining unshakable, you become the North Star in her world, and that is a position she will never want to let go of. The path to authenticity, the transformation that makes you unstoppable. Most men are trapped in a perpetual cycle of becoming because they've been told that who they are right now is fundamentally broken. They treat self improvement like a desperate rescue mission, convinced that once they hit a certain body fat percentage or a specific salary, they will finally earn the right to be confident. But here is the hard truth: real confidence isn't the result of self improvement, it is the result of radical self acceptance. If you are grinding in the gym or building a business solely to prove to the world and to women that you are enough, you are building your entire identity on a foundation of shifting sand. You are essentially telling yourself that your value is a moving target that you have to chase every single day. This creates an underlying energy of anxiety and try hard desperation that women can smell from a mile away. True authenticity begins the moment you stop trying to fix yourself and start accepting yourself. Because a man who is at peace with his current reality is infinitely more attractive than a man who is sweating to escape it. To break free, you must perform a brutal audit of your motivations. You need to look at every goal you have, the cars, the clothes, the career milestones, and ask yourself, am I doing this for me or am I doing this to be seen doing it? Most of the desires you have aren't even yours. They are programs installed in your brain by social media, movies, and a society that wants you to be a high achieving consumer. When you chase goals that were programmed into you by others, you become a copy of a copy. You lose your edge, your uniqueness, and your soul. A woman isn't looking for a man who is a perfect replica of a lifestyle influencer. She is looking for a man who has the courage to live by his own values, even if those values go against the grain. When you start living for yourself, pursuing hobbies that actually interest you, and setting standards that actually matter to you, you develop a heavy presence. You become a man who is the main character of his own story, rather than a supporting actor in someone else's. The ultimate secret to becoming a magnetic force is achieving a state of total internal peace. This is the stage where you become so complete within yourself that you no longer view a woman as the missing piece of your life's puzzle. Most men approach dating with a gaping hole in their soul that they expect a woman to fill with her attention and affection. This is a massive burden to place on someone else, and it's the primary reason relationships become toxic and needy. But when you find peace, when you genuinely enjoy your own company and your own mission, you become intoxicating. You aren't using tricks or tactics because you don't need them. You've undergone a fundamental transformation from a seeker to a source. You are no longer looking for someone to give you a life. You are offering someone the opportunity to share in the incredible life you've already built for yourself. This is the only path that leads to a life you actually respect. When you look in the mirror, you shouldn't see a man who is successfully faking it or a man who has finally accumulated enough stuff to be worthy. You should see a man who is authentic, grounded, and unapologetically himself. That internal respect is the fuel for the kind of confidence that doesn't waver when a girl doesn't text back or when a business deal falls through. It is an unshakable, quiet power. Ironically, it is only when you reach this point, when you truly don't need a woman to validate your existence, that women become obsessed with you. They recognize the rarity of a man who is truly free from the need for external approval. By becoming a man you respect, you become a man the world cannot ignore. You move from chasing attraction to simply embodying it. And that is the only version of you that can command true, deep seated obsession.